Mac Geek Gab 1041, Apple Keynote Recap, WWDC, words not necessarily in that order, for Monday, June 10th, which is National Black Cow Day, although that's not what I'm choosing to drink, 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mac Geek Gab. We are normally the show where you send in questions, tips, and cool stuff found, which we share/answer in hopes of each of us learning at least 5 new things every single time we get together. Today, though, we are here to dissect, debrief, post-process all of the stuff that we just sort of haven't finished digesting. Maybe we are here to finish digesting all of the things from the keynote and then the State of the Union. And I will apologize because I had caffeine earlier today, both because of allergies and then also just to be able to focus on the State of the Union, which makes my brain hurt. But that makes me a little scatterbrained. So I'm trying to balance that with a local craft IPA while we record the show. I don't know how that's going to go. Sponsors for this episode include BBEdit from Barebones Software at barebones.com. And, of course, expressvpn.com/MGG, where you can go to get 3 extra months free. So we will talk more in depth about each of those a little bit later. For now, as far as I know, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And here in South Dakota, I'm Adam Christianson.
And here also in New Hampshire, it's Pilot Pete. This is going to be a fun show. I'm moving around now.
I'm going to apologize to anybody who's watching the video. Pete's camera is doing a lot of yeah.
So anyone watching live stream, my camera's moving around. I need to turn that off. Sorry about that. Here in New Hampshire, got to watch the vast majority of the Apple keynote, and then when I got home about 10 minutes late, watched it all the way through and went back and watched the first 10 minutes, which was kind of a waste of time, but just because, it was the Apple TV stuff, and that's good stuff. Go get Apple TV and watch it. They put out good shows.
I was impressed, and I noticed it instantly as soon as the intro video started, which was fun, them like dropping from an airplane and all that stuff, that it was in Dolby Atmos sound. I immediately was like, oh, holy crap. Yeah.
So, in fact, I wrote a note down and said, Dave, you said something on Discord about Atmos.
Yes.
So,
yes.
For those that aren't or are considering upgrading their sound system, how would you get that? How would you get that work? I know it's kind of natural in the Apple TV and it has to be sent to you that way, but what's the most economical setup to get in there? And I've taken us down a rabbit hole already, folks.
I don't have the most economical setup. I have a Sonos Arc, which is absolutely fantastic, but not necessarily the most economical setup to get to Atmos. But like the Sonos Beam 2 would be a great way to add Atmos to your setup. I will note, though, that the Apple TV, we've said it on the show before, is not necessarily the best streaming device to get Atmos full time. It will only send compressed Atmos signals. If the signal is not compressed, it strips the metadata for Atmos out, and so you don't get that. It like compresses it on the fly, or I don't know. It does something to it. So the NVIDIA Shield Pro is going to be the best device to get get full uncompressed Atmos. So
I keep meaning to go get one of those, and I'm getting ready to change my theater setup. So I think
there you go.
That's a good excuse to do it.
Yep.
All right. So sorry about the rabbit hole.
Oh, that's okay.
We had an order to go in, and that wasn't it.
And that wasn't it. That wasn't on the on the list. But that's okay. Like that's how we do things here.
Yeah.
How are you today? So Adam, Pete and I watched the entirety of the keynote. I watched the entirety of the State of the Union as well, which is why my brain is fried. Yep. Your day went a little bit differently, just so that everyone sort of knows why some of us are asking questions that might not make sense. Explain to us, please, why you,
Adam's like,
what
is
you have
Apple
watched.
Intelligence? What the heck are you guys talking about? I have watched the first half of the keynote because I at the day job, and it's now just the end of the day job. And so I got about an hour in. So I got through most of the OS stuff.
Okay.
I think they were just wrapping up macOS, and I think the second half is all AI.
Got it.
So
the second half was AI, and we aren't going to follow Apple's order because we never do. However, I think AI is sort of the thing that we will talk about at the end. And of course, AI, Apple defines as Apple intelligence, not artificial intelligence. But the marketing machine is in full swing.
You're going to get steamrolled by that thing.
So let's talk about macOS, because we're called Mac Geek Gab. So we'll start with that. It's also probably one of the shorter OSs that we will go through. It is the next version of macOS will be macOS Sequoia. So I'm already going to just apologize in advance for the next year when I get confused between Sonoma and Sequoia. So thanks to Apple for that. That's fun.
Right.
Yep.
It's almost as bad as Lion and Mountain Lion.
Yeah. Well, at least that we knew, one came after the other.
Right.
Now it's we don't all live in California. Sonoma, Sequoia, I don't know which came first.
Yeah,
I don't even know if this. Yeah. I mean, right now
Sierra.
I know which came first. Sierra. Thanks, Adam.
There you go.
Perfect. Begins with an S, ends with an A. Don't worry, no
syllables.
confusion.
Yeah.
That's right. Yup. Yeah. So, anything stand out for you in macOS, Adam?
Trying to think. Maybe some of the contextual highlighting in Safari. I'm curious to see how that's going to work.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently when you're browsing in Safari, there's now a little button in the menu bar you can click on. It sort of works like, looks like a slimmed down version, I would guess, of almost Reader. And actually it integrates with Reader as well.
Right.
Where you click on it and it will scan the page for relevant content and sort of summarize it in a little drop down box. So for example, if you're looking at a location, it might pop up a map to show you, here's where the hotel is, and without having to scan down the page and find the hotel. So I'm assuming it's leveraging probably Apple's data detectors along with some AI stuff and that sort of thing. And it will also build a text summary of content on the page. So from reader view, I thought that was pretty neat. So could be handy.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. The one thing that stood out to me, there were two things really that stood out to me with macOS. The fact when they were talking about Safari, there was definitely a PR pitch involved where they said, if you've missed anything that's been added to Safari in recent years, it's time to check it out, right? And that's there's a lot of people that moved to Chrome and haven't even considered Safari since then. So understandably. Yeah.
Let's say why, because Safari became hot garbage.
Yeah, broke the internet.
It still is.
Well, so you're not a Safari fan, huh, Adam?
I was a huge Safari fan for a long, long time. And then now, I'm a web developer, and it's basically become the new IE is what we call it in our little web development community, where IE was the worst browser to develop for because it would just break so much stuff. And Safari has kind of become that. I don't know why or how, just a lot of things don't work. Things aren't supported. It's sluggish and slow. The developer tools have never been that great or as great, in my opinion, as some others. So
Yep. All right. Well,
it's mostly about security, isn't there? Their reasoning for it.
I think that's part of it.
As bad as
I mean, they just I don't know what happened with WebKit and the whole open source thing and like Apple and like I think there's a lot of stuff under the hood that a lot of us aren't privy to. I also think Safari became less and less of a focus for Apple. Like I think they just didn't do a good job supporting that team and maintaining it. I'd love to talk to somebody internally on Apple's team or maybe somebody who's recently left Apple's Safari team to find out what happened. But I think it's the classic thing. I think they pushed it, and in my opinion, it was like the greatest browser for a long, long time. And then I think it just like a lot of things with Apple internally, they pushed their focus in other areas. They took their best people and put them in other areas, probably on AI and Vision Pro and like all these other things that they wanted to do. And the Safari team probably just became not, it's just a browser. Like we did what we wanted to do with it. And I think it just hasn't been actively maintained or developed in the way that it should. Love. So maybe this is a sign of they're going to refocus on it, which would be great because they really need to.
Yeah. All right, fair. The other thing that jumped out at me for macOS was iPhone mirroring with control, right? Which means that you can mirror your iPhone and control it from your Mac. You can get your iPhone notifications on your Mac. You can click on them. It brings up the iPhone mirroring so that you can actually interact with the app that sent you the notification. It's like continuity enhanced, and I love that. So that when I'm sitting at my desk, I don't want to have to pick up my iPhone because I got a notification from an app that doesn't exist on my Mac, and now I don't have to. So that I loved, at least in theory. I haven't used it yet. I haven't installed the betas. Have either of you headed down that path yet?
No.
Some people I know
barely got through the keynote yet. So.
There were people with the betas installed before that. Yeah.
The thing I'm most likely to install first is iPadOS because I don't worry about my iPad too much. So I'll probably usually start there.
Yeah.
The other thing I guess the other thing that stood out to me on the Mac side was the couple of things that they kind of Sherlocked. So like the browser layout thing where you can, get your windows to snap into different quadrants and different places and keyboard shortcuts for that. There's a lot of apps that people use for that. I think again, Apple's going to classic thing where theirs is going to be sort of slimmed down. So I think there's always opportunity for those third-party apps, but and then the bigger one was the password app.
Right.
I'm glad they did that. That's great. Yeah. Like they needed that. Yeah. Yep.
And I think that
suddenly
came up. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think the question came up in the Discord chat too, whether or not the password app was going to have vaults. There's shared passwords now, but is it going to have vaults that you can share? Keep things to yourself.
The screenshot shows shared groups, and one says the Peterson family. So
So there you go. That's great. I'm not upset at all about them, doing that and Sherlocking, 1Password or Bitwarden or whatever you want to insert there. Sure. I think that, we need that. It needs to be there in macOS. It needs to be easy for people to share passwords and not just by using this, a password that everybody can remember.
Right.
Or texting
and I'm sure it'll have support for passkeys and that sort of thing. What I didn't see, if it doesn't have support for the one-time passwords, the code generation, like I don't like having a separate
Apple
iCloud
Keychain has had that for a long time. You can already
is that
do
built
that.
into
It's already built in.
That'll be in there. So this is basically just a UI for iCloud Keychain, right?
I don't think it changes the functionality of it because the functionality's been there for a while. But the password app, yeah, exactly.
And I think I saw somewhere. I don't think it was the keynote, but the State of the Union later, where they were talking about the improvement for developers to be able to get passkeys into their apps more efficiently. Do you recall that, Dave?
Yeah, there was something about that. Yeah. My brain was sort of,
fried by then.
Yeah, bubbling a little bit at that point.
Yeah, but I think they're setting it up so that developers have a better API for creating passkeys to make that more seamless for everybody at the end user. And then in Tennessee, Papa pointed out, and it was kind of my favorite feature too, going back briefly to Safari, it's one of the, I don't use the browser very much, but I find one of its features that I really like is the two-factor authentication. So when you get texted your number, it comes from messages. You have to go get it and copy it or type it in if you're in Chrome or no? Was there a feature to do that?
In Chrome you do, but Safari it automatically.
But in Safari it offers to fill it for you, which I absolutely love. So that's a nice feature of Safari. So hopefully the rest of it gets better. But yeah, there's a lot of it that's been broken, and that's why I've stayed away from it as my main browser.
And I will say, and this was also in iOS, but Mail seems to be getting a little better in macOS with the categorization and that sort of thing. That's on all three, iPadOS, iOS, and macOS. But there are parts of that make me hope that I can move back to Apple Mail at some point. So, yeah. But there's
that made me. I've been on Spark for a long time, as I've mentioned in the past. Yeah. And some of the Mail features those are some pretty cool features. But like Spark already kind of has that categorization thing, and I've loved that for a long time. It separates my newsletters from my, spammy bits and other bits, so I can focus on specific things. So that's a nice addition there. Again, more kind of Sherlocking, where it's like, oh, these are great features from other Mail applications. We're going to integrate them in. The other cool thing I thought was Math Notes.
Is that coming to macOS? I think that's iPadOS.
Yeah.
iPadOS.
Oh, okay.
No. It's also it's in Notes on macOS
in Notes too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. I'll believe you.
Yeah, so we can dive more in that when we get into iPadOS. But so I thought that was cool. And then the only other thing that I can tell you the feature I'm not happy about, but I personally am, but I'm not happy about is the updates to Photos, because that's when I get in trouble with my wife, because she's going to tell me, why the frick did they mess with because she uses, that's probably her number one app. And they effed with the UI, and that means I'm in trouble because it's my fault.
Yes. Yes. Right. Yeah. No, I understand
because Apple changed
the fault of that. Yeah.
She's going to go, where the F are my albums? Well, they're all the way down at the bottom.
Yes.
Why no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did they move them to the bottom?
Yeah. Yep.
Because they knew you wouldn't like them there.
That's right.
She's going to, I'm just hoping you can customize it back.
And when those kinds of things come up at home and you say things like, well, look, that's just your change resistance getting involved here. Give it 2 weeks, you'll be fine. That generally doesn't land well at all. I don't understand why.
Out of the hospital, Dave.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, but I still won't have a key to the new locks. That's right.
Fair enough. Yeah. Do you want flowers when you're in the hospital or what?
This is why my spouse's devices are 3 versions back.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you could show your spouse how it looks on yours, and then ask, "Do you want me to upgrade you?" Right? Because then it's not your choice. You didn't. Cause
no, I've learned when she comes to say, "Should I update?" I said, "Well, this is going to change. This is going to change. This is going to change, and this is going to change, and this is how. Do you want that?"
Yep.
No.
Great.
Is almost always the answer.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's talk about
You're
iOS.
Fine. Are you happy?
Yes, let's talk about iOS. The first things that I want to point out was that sure, we're going to talk a bunch about AI in a little bit, and everybody's going to say that AI was the winner of this, but they're wrong. AI was fun, but the band Rush was the winner, because I got two little things, little Easter eggs of Rush. The second one was on Craig Federighi's backpack when he telekinesis his iPhone out of his backpack over to his hand when he was doing a demo on macOS, and so we saw a little Rush pin with the initial Rush logo. And then earlier in the keynote, when he was showing various things in Control Center on his iPhone in iOS, he showed that he was playing Headlong Flight from Rush's Clockwork Angels album. So I was very happy about that. Beyond that, though, the home screen customizations for iOS, I think, are going to be a favorite feature. I like that you can put icons anywhere you want now, as opposed to them sort of following their sort of the defaults being snapping in an order. So you can build your icons around a picture. What's that?
Well, let's be fair. They're still going to be in a grid, though.
They're definitely still in a grid.
They're not going to let you go crazy.
Can't rotate them.
Oh, my goodness. No. That's
Can't
right.
free rotate them.
No, you can't. But you can. They will get dark mode view, which I like for the icons. And then you can also do, what do they call it? A tint color, so that all your icons start to kind of, start to have the same color as opposed to their own color, which is kind of nice if you care about that aesthetic, the color scheme aesthetic of your home screen. You can absolutely do this, and there's some Sherlocking that happened there for sure. But
it just would make me not be able to find the app anymore because I'm so built in on like the color of that icon is the color, like music is red, the App Store is blue, like messages is green.
I would have said that 3 or 4 iOS versions ago, but now that we have the whole search and the app library, there are only a few. Like I have one page of home screen. That's it, and I know where the apps are, so I don't think I care as much about the color of the app anymore. Although when I go to search the app library, then I care, because that's when I'm an app might not be in the same position, but I notice, that's orange. Okay, I'm going to click that. But I think those would still be orange, even if I sent my tint color to blue or something like that. So I don't know. I kind of like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out, right? So we'll find out.
I'm kind of the same way. I mean, I know where many of my apps are. Some of them I have no idea where they are. I just I have to search them every time.
Right. Yeah.
Because it tells you what folder it's in, but there's one that doesn't ever tell me what folder it's in. I'm just like, all right, I'm eternally stuck searching that one. But
I don't use folders anymore, Pete.
No, yeah.
Really? It's just app library. Yeah. That was a positive byproduct / side effect of starting from scratch. I don't know, 2 or 3 iPhones ago. Yeah. So I just was like, well, wait, I'm not going to create any folders.
So then that brings me to the question: where are the apps? Do you have multiple pages or not?
One page. And I have way more apps than would fit on one page. Yeah. So I just pull down to search the app library, and that's it.
Okay. So I'm just curious. Let's say search wasn't there and you had to go to the app. How would you get there? Is it not paged over if you've got all these apps?
I have one page.
Yeah, you only have
one page. I just search.
And there you don't have folders and you have one page. Where are they?
I search. They're in the app library.
In the app library.
In the app library.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
See, I know it's a whole different paradigm.
Yeah, I get that. I don't use
you
it
don't even need the
I
app library with Siri search.
Correct. To be fair, I don't use the app library. No, I use Siri search. You're totally right, Adam. I don't use the app library. Yeah.
So I have like 4 pages and folders, but I only use the front page.
So then you don't need the other pages.
The app library like it should, or the search it should, I suppose.
Yeah.
So.
And I will say that
you haven't advanced. I was just going to say you haven't advanced to where, like, when App Library came out, I was the same way. I had a bunch of pages with folders. Yeah. App Library came out, and I went, I really only need my homepage with my most used apps and my most used widgets, and then everything else can live in the App Library. So I got rid of all my folders, all my other things, and just let everything live off in App Library. Yeah.
So I'm still Using my iPhone like a caveman. I get it.
Essentially, the app library gave me the option to not have all of my apps on home screens. Like that's the feature of the app library that I use is just the default of it doesn't put them automatically on my home screen when I download apps. Other than that, I never go to the app library. I just search. And what's cool about search is it's contextual. It knows if I'm at home and it's the evening, the TV Time app will come up, which is the app that I use to track my my TV watching, right? You know, and it knows that I will use that in the evening at home. I think if it could know that I was in my living room, it would, but I don't have enough beacon. Well, you know what? Maybe it already does. I don't know.
It doesn't told you it knows.
Correct. But like, you know, it doesn't show up. I mean, it might show up now because we're recording in the evening. Let's see. TV Time shows up even though I'm in my office, but it's like evening time, you know, which is atypical for a recording. But yeah, no, it's great. And my guess is with the AI stuff that hopefully we'll eventually have time to talk about that it'll get better. The other thing that that jumped out at me was messages. All the changes to messages. And I will start with the last one that they mentioned, which they really didn't even mention. Craig Federighi only mentioned it in passing.
In passing, yeah.
I think because he didn't want to give Google credit, but iOS 18 will support the RCS messaging protocol, which is a protocol developed by Google. It is considered an open standard. Apple has already talked about this. We've talked about it on the show. It will allow those green bubble people to, those green bubble messages that we have to exchange like videos and images and all the rich text stuff like message reactions and replies and all of that much more reliably than we do now, because right now they use SMS. And with iOS 18, we will be using RCS with Android phones that support it, which is basically all of them, or most of them. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm stoked about RCS support. The second thing, and I wrote excited expletives in my notes about this, is messages via satellite with iPhone 14 and later. If you don't have cell service, you can send a message with a satellite connection. That's huge.
Yep. I'm waiting for that to cost money, though.
I'll pay for that.
It's going to cost money.
I get it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, if you use even the emergency one, I think is going to only be free for a time, they had said, and it's going to eventually, there is going to be a charge for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I fully expect there's some sort of service plan that you would get probably through iCloud at some point that would just get tacked onto your iCloud plan. I would hope.
At some point. My guess is it's going to be free out of the gate. And then they'll, which is fine.
Get you hooked.
I'm totally okay with that. But the idea of, because there have been times where I like, oh man, do I need to like pay for an eSIM on a different carrier just so I can send messages when I'm in this one little area? Like, it would be great to be able to use the satellite to do that. So yeah, I love it.
And then my favorite feature came along.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I shouted out, woohoo, got it. I'm done. I'm out. Time for me to go home. And that was schedule messages to go later.
Yes.
How many years have I been griping about that on this show? I want to schedule a message to go. Now, what I think it won't do, I don't think I can schedule the message to go later and then have my phone off in airplane mode and be on an airplane and have it go. I could be wrong. We'll see how that goes. But, like, does it go up to a server and wait up there, or does it wait on my phone and go at that time?
That's true.
Fair question.
It could go
we don't know.
into iCloud. If they're smart, it goes into iCloud and gets scheduled there. Yeah, and it's on Apple's server till it needs to send. Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
so the other one,
to see that. I've been asking for that for years. And doing different workarounds.
I think I'm just gonna say this. Hang on one second, Adam. I think one of us, and I believe it's you, Adam, but I can't say for certain, is having a little bit of latency to the other two here. And so I think that's why we're having a little bit of stepping on each other at times. But you go now.
I'll try to be more conscious then, if it's me. No, I just wanted to comment that you now have the ability to request control in FaceTime chats to do remote control of a device. Yeah. As well as the ability to draw on someone else's device. So that's a big one.
Danger.
No, I think that's great.
That's awesome.
With permission. Yeah.
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 No, that's fantastic.
And that whole paradigm is a game changer. I mean, it's something we've talked about on this show countless times that we've wanted. The updates and messages for emojis and text effects, you can have emojis that are not limited to Apple's, whatever, 6 of them or something, is great. It bums me out when I see my Android friends being able to use anything as an emoji, or like in Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever, you can use whatever you want as a tap back, and now you can do that in messages, which I'm stoked about. So, yeah.
Quick question. It's just, down there in the corner on the screen that we're at, it talks about control center customization, but we've already got that. What did I miss that was more customizable than present?
You can add apps, and apps can expose their own features to be customizable in Control Center, and you can replace those. You not only can you put those in Control Center, but you can also replace the flashlight and camera icon on your home screen on your iPhone with these things. And if you are replacing one of them with a third-party camera app, that can be used while your phone is locked. So you don't need to unlock your phone. Like right now, you don't need to unlock your phone to use the camera. If you've got Face ID, it probably unlocks anyway, right? But it doesn't need to in order to use the camera. Or at least I believe we can set it that way. That's also true now with third-party camera apps.
Nice.
Which is cool. Yep.
Nice.
And as Randy Walker in our chat points out, multiple pages on Control Center and resizable controls. So, yeah, a very enhanced Control Center.
Resizable is going to be huge, yeah.
Right.
Some of those tiles, I don't like like, stop that.
Right. Yep.
But, okay.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think so. And
I quit listening with scheduling messages.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to like catch all the things. It doesn't.
It is. They were fast. Even the transitions betwixt and between the various iOS and macOS, and they were quick.
Yep.
So,
anything else from iOS, Adam?
That I can think of.
Okay, Adam's.
Yeah,
you noted in our we have a little backroom chat here that you say Edge has gone wrong with StreamYard. I've been getting little clicks in audio from you from the beginning, Adam. So I'm wondering if you just need to restart Edge and log back into StreamYard here.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, you do that. Pete, was there anything else in iOS 18 that jumped out to you?
It was tap to cache. That looks like it's a pretty cool little feature to be able to send Apple Cache back and forth to each other by just holding your phone right next to each other. No need to
without needing to exchange contact information.
Right.
Right. So I could send you money without you knowing my phone number, which is good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're like the good old days when you gave somebody money and they gave you a product and you could walk out of the store. You didn't give them your name, birth date, email address.
I didn't even think about it. They didn't. If they talked about that as an example, it did not dawn on me. It did not register for me. What they talked about was, you're out to dinner with a bunch of people. You want to like give somebody money, but like I figure if I'm out to dinner with somebody, I'm probably okay with them knowing how to find me. Yeah. So,
but not needing to, like you say, to exchange all your contact information just to get or give somebody $20 for,
I like that.
And like we're selling a lot of stuff on Facebook because we're moving. So,
right.
Give it to me that way. That's good.
The Maps app gets offline trail and hiking maps, which I love. I mean, I use AllTrails. This probably Sherlock's AllTrails for some people. My guess is not everyone, but in fact, it might wind up selling more AllTrails subscriptions, because if there's more to it with AllTrails than there is with Apple Maps, the fact that the idea of having an offline trail map on your phone might actually cause people to say, "Wait, I want a better implementation of this." But I'm stoked about that. Are you back with us, Adam?
I think so. Hopefully.
Okay, great. Cool.
Sounds more better.
It does sound better. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not sure if there's one other. If it was in a, where does this come in? Probably under intelligence. Then is the very granular search they talked about. And I think that was, hey, what was the podcast my wife told me about last week? You don't have to go in and remember even part of the name and start searching through messages or mail, or, it's data, the data detection, as Adam was talking about earlier, seems to be really, really getting refined.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely part of Apple Intelligence for sure. Yeah, which is all happening on device. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like being able to ask that question of like, wait, what was that iPhone case that Pete told me about? Boom, there it is. I know. I think that's great. One addition to iOS is with AirPods, shaking your head to answer yes or no was pretty cool. Like, there's a call coming in from, you're getting a call from Pete. All you do is nod yes, and boom, it answers the call. I
totally missed that.
Yep. Or shake no, and it dismisses the call. You don't have to say anything.
Nice.
Yep.
That could cause problems.
It could.
Do we know the requirements for that? Is it going to require
AirPods Pro, I believe.
Any AirPods Pro, or does it have to be the latest and greatest?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. So
Yep. We'll find out. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah. I can see how that would cause problems. So if you happen to be shaking your head no when a call comes in and it senses it right away, it's like the no delay when you're going to touch your screen and a notification comes up type thing. It's like,
yes.
Damn it.
Yes.
I was not trying to touch there.
Yes. Right. Yeah, it'll be the same. It'll be a new version of that. That's right.
Yeah, you just happen to be looking left and right, getting ready to cross the street, and you just denied a call that you've been waiting for hours.
Yep. That's fair. That's fair. My guess is we'll be able to turn that off.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Anything in watchOS 11 jump out at you, Adam?
There was the feature, I forget what they're calling it. It had the 4 little icons that are like the sensors for the back of your Apple Watch, but it basically was going to bring all of your sensor data together and help you.
All right, hang on. Are you hearing that, Pete, with Adam's audio going sideways? Okay.
Yeah, it's bad, Adam.
Yeah.
What'd I do now?
I wonder.
You didn't do nothing.
No, I wonder, Adam, is your CPU pegged right now?
Well, I opened Safari. Remember how we were talking about Safari earlier?
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of hot messes.
I do remember that. Yeah. I wonder if it the whole time it has felt like your CPU is in like an IO wait state. So
yeah, it's ramped up for sure.
Okay, it's way better right now.
Well, I killed Safari.
Amazing. Okay.
But no, Edge is freaking out. Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, your audio got better after quitting Safari. So I will ask you this question again. Anything in watchOS that jumped out at you? watchOS 11?
Yeah, but I was trying to look up the name of the feature. It's the thing that it brings all your sensor data together, and I can't remember the name
training
of the feature.
Mode.
No, not training mode. Because that's for like doing
the new Vitals app.
Vitals, yes. Keeping track of all your vitals together and being able to give you an assessment of trends and what's happening with all the different sensor data like combined together.
Yep.
I find that really interesting and could be very, very helpful for a lot of people.
I agree.
So, where I would say, hey, basically here's what's changed. You're not getting as much sleep What's going on? Are you more stressed? Are you like, what other things are factoring into this?
Yep. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. I think that's really smart. I have gotten in the habit of not wearing my Apple Watch on the weekends, mainly because I like to not have, I know I could do this with focus modes, and I often do, but I like to not have notifications happen for me when I'm like hanging out with my family. And so the weekends are when I wear my various mechanical watches, which I like to be able to wear. So it's a nice opportunity to do that. These overnight vitals make me wonder if I really just want to start wearing my Apple Watch as a sleep tracker. I don't know.
There you go. See, I thought he was saying that as a nice way of saying I have to screen my calls and texts from Pete, so I don't wear it.
No, if I have a focus mode for that, that's totally fine. Right. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you wear your watch overnight then? Or not typically?
I have actually I have 3 Apple Watches. I have my OG Apple Watch that I got like on release day of the Apple Watch. I rarely use that anymore because it doesn't do what I need it to do. I have my Ultra 2 that is my main Apple Watch, and then I have my Series 5, which is what I wear at night to bed.
Okay.
So I track my sleep almost every night. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've got the original Ultra, and I wear it except when it's on the charger. It's on, and or in the shower. But other than that, it's on all the time. I've got a beautiful Citizens Pilot watch that I haven't worn in years. I need to start wearing that again.
Yep. I don't know. I like my mechanical watches. They're just kind of fun. It's like, it's
gorgeous,
nice to have and it's nice to have a complex gadget that doesn't require a battery.
Right.
I like that part of it. So I don't know. But that's just me. Like I don't judge people who don't like I'm the odd one out on this for sure. The new Smart Stack widgets on the Apple Watch are what jumped out to me, where you can set up that Smart Stack and then it will add widgets like based contextually, right? So the rainfall, if there's going to be rain, it'll show you the rain over the next few hours, or translation, it will just add that widget if you're, in a foreign country or somewhere where chances are the language is not the same as your default language. And live activities coming to Apple Watch in the same kind of UX. So that part.
Yeah, let me mention that, and it's both iOS and in the watch because it's kind of the same app. And if you have gone out and gotten Weather Radar or NOAA Radar or some other weather app, and you haven't looked at the Apple Weather app in a while, go give that a look again. That's just become a full-featured weather app. And that's not even looking ahead. It's there now.
Yeah.
From radar and air quality and temperatures by hour during the day and precipitation by hour. It's very full featured. I really like it. It's my favorite weather app now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's pretty good. Anything else on watchOS before we jump to iPadOS, guys?
I mean, I don't use it because I think you need a current Apple Watch, but the double tap API being made available to developers, so hopefully that'll get more feature functionality.
Yep, I like that. Good. Yep. There was something that was mentioned in the developer thing that I had. Oh yeah, I already talked about that. Anyway, okay, cool. I'm trying to, I watched the State of the Union. I'm trying to bring that stuff in the right sections, and I did. The whole thing about the camera app was actually in the State of the Union. Go ahead, Adam.
I'm glad you have your slide up because I saw one more thing, which is big. Pausing your activity rings, because I know people obsess about this, right? Is you've got a trend going on, but now you're going to go on vacation for a weekend and you're not going to be doing your exercising. You can pause your rings and then turn them back on when you get back. So for whatever reasons, you can pause activity rings and not break your trend.
I like that.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing because it could potentially be abused.
Sure.
There are legitimate reasons why someone might want to, like you have an accident, like you break your leg.
Sure.
Right? And now you've blown you have a 3-year trend going on your running and now you broke your leg, and now you're going to lose your streak because
fair.
You had an accident, right? Yeah.
Fair. Yep. I like it. Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, let's move on to iPadOS 18, which of course gets a lot of the same features that we saw in iOS, the personalized home screen, the remote control of your iPad when you're doing like screen sharing and all of that.
Yeah.
It also gets the new Notes app that you started alluding to, Adam, in macOS.
Yeah, Math Notes, which comes because the bigger announcement, which they kind of made fun of themselves for, which is it's getting finally the calculator app. So you get the calculator app and you can do math notes in the calculator app, which means you can actually write equations and notes and things like that, including setting up and defining variables that will auto update in your notes when you take them. You can do graphing, you can do adjustments, modeling, all handwritten. And then that's also available in the Notes app across iOS and macOS. Right. So you can handwrite equations in your own handwriting and have them be actually calculations. And when you put in the equal sign, it will do the calculation, and you can auto-update those.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It was amazing. And you can change the order of operations by, putting the parenthetical up there. It'll do physics.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I was, for those watching the live stream, they may have noticed I was actually holding my wrist up. The watch has a calculator on it, but the iPad does.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah. Yep.
So, but being able to handwrite it, that's going to drive math teachers nuts.
I think it's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Yeah.
It is a good thing. It's you want the right, what do you want, the right answer? Or do you want, you want to know how to do it too.
Yeah, yes and no. There's a lot of things right now that we don't know how to do because we have ubiquitous access to devices that can do them in a better way. And that frees us up to learn how to do new things like this stuff. So I'm not entirely convinced that it's bad when we have machines that can do things we used to have to do by hand. I don't know. There can be both sides of this. The new tab bar. Apple spent a lot of time talking about this new tab bar in iOS. I'm not convinced that it's the sliced bread replacement that they seem to want to talk about, but I'm curious to see if in fact it works. So
I like that you can customize it by just dragging stuff out of the sidebar and then putting it into the tab bar. Yeah, that's kind of nice. And it will presumably be universal across apps in terms of how it functions if the app is using it, obviously. But
if the app's using it, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the user experience will be the same from app to app. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
And I like that it cleans up your handwriting too.
Oh, what do they call that? Smart script or something.
Script?
I agree. Yeah. Yep.
That one I'm curious to know how good it is. Because again, here they're leveraging AI to kind of analyze how you write, and then sort of make it neater. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see how actually close it gets to like my actual writing. Like how much cleanup versus, because that's a fine line, right? It's like, how do you make it cleaner and more legible without making it look like someone else's handwriting?
My thought as they were demoing that was that it has a bunch of different sort of, canonical styles in there, and it normalizes you to one of them.
Right.
So if you write in block letters, you're going to get block letters. If you write in block, like if you write in drafting font, like where you're writing everything in either, large caps or small caps, it's going to default you to that version. Or if you write in like half printed, half cursive, it's going to default you to that version. And maybe they've got 5 versions of each of these kinds of things. But I think it's fonts. I don't think it's creating a new font for you each time. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Seems like a lot of extra work.
And then it actually does spell correction too.
Right. Well, that's what made me think it was fonts. In the end, yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Anything more on iOS while we're here? I'm trying to keep us moving along, but that's how we go.
Word by notes.
How about tvOS? The one thing that jumped out to me in tvOS was they didn't talk much about it, but while you're watching something, you can swipe down on the remote or look in your iPhone remote without doing any swiping and be able to see the actors and character names of the people in the show. If there's a song playing, it'll show you the name of the song and the artist, and you can add it to your Apple Music library. So that was interesting to me. I wind up doing that in Plex all the time. I wonder if speaking of Plex, if third-party apps will be able to expose that data in Apple TV so that, they can have that rich media experience too. I don't know. But
because Amazon Prime calls it X-ray, I think.
Yes, Amazon Prime's had that for a long time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does Amazon do the music? Because that was an interesting part of that. Is so if there's a song playing in that show or movie, it will help link it to, you can add it to your playlist and your music.
I don't know.
And Apple Music. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Show you the actors as well as the character names and stuff like that. So it sounded like though that it was really only going to be initially, at least with Apple TV programs or Apple TV Plus programs.
All right, folks. Do you remember when being a private citizen actually meant being private? Those days are long gone thanks to the internet. Everything we browse, search, or tweet or post is being crawled, collected, and sold by data brokers. It's like being a celebrity, but, without any of the perks. And that's one of the reasons that I really like to use a VPN and our sponsor, ExpressVPN, to keep my data under wraps. One of the easiest ways for data brokers to track you is through our device's unique IP addresses, right? Which also can then be used to figure out our general location and all of that. Well, ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making it much harder for those creepy data brokers to track and monetize your online activity. But that's not all. ExpressVPN encrypts 100% of your network traffic, keeping your data safe from hackers, especially when you're on public Wi-Fi. It works on all your devices, phone, laptop, tablet, you name it. Just tap one button and you're protected. It's that easy. I've used ExpressVPN when I travel. I've talked to that here on the show, on my phone and my iPhone and my MacBook Air. It keeps my data private and secure no matter where I am. I really like the way the app works on my iPhone. That's why I like ExpressVPN when I travel. So don't get caught with your digital pants down. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/MGG. That's expressvpn.com/MGG. And you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/MGG, and our thanks to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this episode. All right, so have you ever felt like wrangling text is a full-time job? Well, don't get caught in the text jungle without a trusty machete. That's where our sponsor BBEdit comes in. I use BBEdit all the time for creating the show chapters, for editing files on the website, coding, and even just comparing text documents. It's a lifesaver. BBEdit 15 is packed with new features designed to boost productivity. One of my favorites, the little mini-map palette. It gives me a high-level overview of my documents, making it super easy to navigate and visualize super mondo large files. And if you're into Markdown or clippings, the new expandable cheat sheets are a game changer. And for coding enthusiasts, BBEdit's Enhanced Projects feature brings an improved interface that's perfect for setting up and managing your projects efficiently. Plus, with built-in support for the language server protocol, coding just got a whole lot smoother. Want to try it out? Well, good news. BBEdit offers a generous 30-day full-functioning evaluation period. And if you're already a fan, they've got discounted upgrade pricing for existing customers to get you up to BBEdit 15. So don't get caught without the best text editor around. Check out BBEdit today at barebones.com. Again, that's barebones.com. You get the discounted upgrade pricing. You get the 30-day eval model with full functionality. It's great. You're going to love it. Go check it out. And our thanks to BBEdit for sponsoring this episode. All right. Before we go to AI, which is Apple Intelligence, we've been trained now. Let's talk about visionOS 2, because Apple did spend a little bit of time talking about the first major update, at least in their words, to visionOS for the Apple Vision Pro headset. Anything in that jump out at you, Adam?
Well, first major is a relative term, I think. I didn't seem like there was a lot of major updates in there. There's some nice updates in there for sure. I think the two that stood out for me were actually having hand gestures to bring up the home view. And
are you getting that too, Pete?
Lacking from the first
he's
person.
back. Okay. No, you're good. You're back. Yep. It's all good. Okay.
Yeah. The Edge help renderer wants to seem to use a lot of CPU for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
Interesting.
I've never had this problem before. So
right. Yeah. No, it hasn't been a problem in the past. Yeah.
So I was going to say,
you cut out the second one.
Yeah. So the one thing that stood out was the hand gestures for bringing up your home screen and control center, which I feel like should have been there from the very, very beginning. And then the second one that sort of stood out was, it wasn't even on, it was just on the final slide, mouse support. So you could use a mouse when you're in
I didn't even notice that, even though I have the slide up on my screen. That's great. Yeah. I noticed the travel mode for use on trains, and I wasn't entirely sure why that needed to be sort of articulated as a difference from, say, travel mode on an airplane. But one person commented, well, maybe it needs to be there so that it doesn't think you're in a car.
Also, I think there was an issue early on when people tried to use it on the plane where it would do the thing where you're moving too fast because the window's fixed, right? So if it doesn't know, the window just goes zoom. And so you throw up a new window and the window goes zoom and it flies by you. So I think it detects, like when you're on a plane, it knows probably via elevation and other things that, okay, you're on a plane, I'm going to not do that.
Right.
I'm guessing they did not have that for terrestrial travel. Because I've heard people who are passengers in cars have had the same problem. You're a passenger in a car, car's moving too fast, you bring up a window and it just zoops because it sticks where you
it
place
leaves it down on the highway.
Right. Yeah, it leaves it behind you at 60 miles an hour or whatever. Yeah.
So that ruins your window.
The trick was you can grab the little window to like move, like if you're going to move the window, if you grab that, hold on to it, it'll stay. So if you want to watch a video as a passenger in a car, you have to like
got it.
Grab the little bar and it'll keep moving with you.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay.
And I guess, the one other thing, which I think is huge, people have said for the, when you're using it with your laptop, the screen, now I'm forgetting the name of the screen view, right? You could only have one screen, but they're going to bring, it's coming soon. One of these coming soon features is you will be able to do a wraparound display.
Yeah, they said 180 degrees,
4K
8K
displays. Two 4K displays. So it's still a single desktop, so not multiple screens, but basically effectively the screen real estate of multiple screens.
Yes, exactly. No, I think that'll make a huge difference. Yeah, this didn't feel like visionOS 2 to me. It felt like visionOS 1.0 was finally released.
Right.
Or finally
out of
announced.
beta.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's still in beta because visionOS 2 is in beta till whenever they release it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Actually, the one thing I was intrigued by, having not owning a Mac Vision Pro, is the spatial photos. With your older photos, you don't need a camera that has taken spatial photos for it to machine generate. So
we've seen that on the iPhone too. If you put a photo on your lock screen like I have a photo of my family as one of my lock screens, and it drops the time like in between, behind my son's head, but in front of the background. Like it seems like it's that same kind of thing that's happening with those, which is cool. Yeah. Cool. All right, let's talk about Apple Intelligence. And we've started this segment before we hit the 1 hour mark. 7 seconds before, but that's okay. So Apple's whole thing with this is they want to prioritize privacy while still being powerful, intuitive, integrated, and personalized. And you'll watch the keynote. The first half of this, actually more than the first half, but the first segment of this, they talked all about how all of this stuff a lot of this stuff, but they didn't allude to there being more, could happen on device, right? So it understands you. It can do things like reordering your notifications or helping you when you're writing something. It can, summarize or rewrite for you, and all this can happen on device. It can then help with images. It's creating images based on the photo. So if I have a photo of Adam there, it can create, and it's Adam's, birthday, let's say, it can create a drawing that is representative of Adam, maybe with a cake and some presents around him and things like that. And I could send that in messages to you or in any other app. And then things like, like you mentioned earlier, Pete, what's the link to that iPhone case that Pete sent me 3 weeks ago? And it will go through and contextualize that and pull up that data, right? Those things are all happening on device. And they talked about this as an architecture with privacy at its core. It's doing on-device processing. They said in the State of the Union that they are using a model that is for a machine learning model, which is, essentially what we call AI these days. They're using a machine learning model that is 4 times faster than the one in previous OSs. And yes, there has been a machine learning model in iOS and macOS for a while. And so they talked a lot about that kind of stuff as the personal on-device thing. They have a new focus mode called Reduce Interruptions, Adam, where it uses the new ML AI features on device to decide whether a certain interruption should be let through or not, which is kind of cool. I mean, again, if it works, if it can read my mind, awesome. If it can't, right, then I won't use it. It'll
learn to.
But that's the thing, right? You might be able to tell it, no, don't send me that. Wait, you screwed up and didn't send me this. Do that next time. And then there's, things like the Genmoji where you can create emojis on the fly, again, on the device, the image playground, which I already mentioned. That's all on device. And then they mentioned, but there's some things that aren't going to be able to happen on device. And that will happen in Apple. They call it Apple's private cloud compute. And they have set up these servers to run the private cloud compute OS with private cloud extensions. There's no persistent storage on these, no shell access. These computers run in a secure enclave. They do secure boot. They have a trusted execution monitor. There is attestation, and all of these, the OS and the machines are totally available for third parties to audit them to confirm that Apple's not even able to store your data. It's essentially like you're connecting to a virtualized device that is an extension of whatever device you're on. And then you detach from it and the data's gone. So in theory, that's a good thing. We'll see. Well,
and they were very clear that they were going to ensure they got your permission, your acquiescence to
Yes.
send things up as well. So that if you're working on something that's proprietary or under an NDA at work that can't go up, you go, okay, no. So sounds like they're making every effort to protect it, which is interesting because that was part of the conversation you and I were having this morning.
Yes.
About, how are they going to do this without stealing all your stuff like everybody else?
Like everybody else. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, during the State of the Union, they put up a grid that kind of shows the separation between how all of these things fit together and are kept separate. And there's the Apple Silicon servers that do all of the things I just mentioned. And then there's the on-device intelligence stack, which uses the CPU and GPU and Neural Engine and Secure Enclave, I suppose, locally on the device to do that stuff. And we'll see, right? Like, I'm curious to see how it works. If this may be the thing that causes me to put iOS 18 beta on my device way earlier in the summer than I would normally do. Normally, it's like late August that I put iOS beta on my device, but I'm really curious about this. So
I'm wondering, Dave, what is there a method for doing this similar to, do you want to opt into sending us your stuff to help us, and we promise not to, ever be able to tie it back to you?
I didn't get that anywhere in either the keynote or the State of the Union. What I got was that this was Apple Intelligence is a combination of on-device and Apple Silicon servers. I should just be clear. I could be totally wrong. I could have missed something. All of that's possible. Where they did talk about getting user permission was when Craig Federighi came back and said, and so this is great for using your personal data, but sometimes you want to use the data that's been trained by everything on the internet and not something that's just based on your data that's never being shared anywhere. And so we have partnered with ChatGPT to extend your queries to them, which you will give permission. The demos looked like you had to give permission every time, which could be really, cumbersome. But we'll see. We'll see what that user experience is like. So, Adam, this is the part of the keynote that you did not watch. So I'm curious if you have any questions or thoughts like that on this as we march through it here.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered the big one, which was how does ChatGPT fit into this, and where does that come into this privacy conversation? But I think you just addressed that very, very well. The other one is just Pete's comment, about like, it sounds like they're saying with the Apple private cloud, whatever they're calling it, service.
The private cloud compute model. Yes.
The private cloud compute model, that it's almost like a personalized instance that gets spun up, like you said, to do the AI processing on the server. Are they keeping your personal data at all? Or it sounded like it was upload, use, and dump. And
correct.
Then, okay.
In a secure fashion.
There's no training even on your own personal stuff. They're just using on-device data or information, I guess, at that point.
That's right.
To then inform the model of certain things, let the model do what it does on the server, and then return a response, and then forget everything else, and then until the next session that you need.
Yes, your device will have access to this stuff, right? But that's as far as it goes. Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting. As you said, support for ChatGPT, in which I noted, I wrote this down. It happened so fast, I almost didn't hear it. I swear. He said, quote, if you're a paid subscriber, you can access those features. So it sounds like you're getting ChatGPT 3.5.
No, that's not what they said.
So what did I miss then about that? Because he did say something about if you're a paid subscriber, ChatGPT is what, not that you can't use it at all.
So let me before we misinform, let me just share what because I was paying pretty close attention to this. Again, I could also be wrong, so please. But they said that it was ChatGPT 4 for everyone without them knowing who you are. Okay. However, if you are a paid subscriber and you choose to log in, then you get access when your stuff is sent to ChatGPT it has the knowledge of everything that you've done with ChatGPT, which can be very helpful. Like when I do our ad reads with ChatGPT, it knows what I've done in the past, and I tell it, make it different from the previous ones, and it knows what I mean by that, right?
Right.
It also, and ChatGPT will tell you this now with the 4.0 model. It'll say, oh, I'm using this context about you. I know that you have a podcast called Mac Geek Gab. I also know you have a podcast called Business Brain. I know that you have 2 kids, but this isn't creepy information. It's information I've fed to it. Like, I have 2 kids. Help me with ideas for like vacations or whatever.
Right.
And so it keeps track of that. So if you have a paid account and you choose to log into it, it will then take advantage of that corpus of data that ChatGPT has about you. But otherwise, it is anonymous. It doesn't know that it's you. It's a new session every time, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where I'll be curious to see how Apple's model does with like sort of personalized data and information versus something like a ChatGPT where it has a memory built in about you,
Right.
Beyond the local memory. I mean, I guess our iPhones know a lot about us locally, so it'll be interesting. It'll just be interesting to see the 2 approaches and where
and how they
deviate.
blend. Yeah, right. Where they blend and where
Both
they
those
deviate.
things.
Exactly. It's a really good point. Yeah. So the other thing that was not talked about in the keynote was Xcode 16. That was talked about in the State of the Union. And one of the cool things about Xcode 16, and there are a few, is predictive code completion, right? So now the AI engine isn't just for, our devices and our queries and things like that, but it's, I'm writing code and I want it to complete my code. So there's that. And that's cool. Knowing like, well, they showed some examples of it. I mean, we've seen this in GitHub Copilot before, right? Where there are, various, you're writing a line of code and it knows, okay, and it looks at the rest of your code and says, oh, you probably want this variable that's yours, not some generic variable name,
sure.
But right, that kind of thing. And then they started talking about something called Swift Assist. And with Swift Assist, the example that they showed, and if you're watching the live stream or even the video after the fact, the place to look is at the bottom of the screen where they're typing, the user was typing things. They started with a blank project and they said, hey, I want you to pull in a list of all of the classic Macs. And boom, in their code, it created an array of classic Macs. And then he wrote, all right, cool. Pull in the icons for these Macs. And he had already populated his code base with those icons. So it went and pulled them in. I was like, great. Now pull in the sounds for those Macs. And it pulled those in. And it's adding these to the array that it has already built. He hasn't written a line of code yet, right? All the code that you're seeing on the screen here that you saw in the State of the Union was written by Swift Assist, and he had it displaying in a list, and then he said, all right, but show the Macs on a grid instead of a list, and then boom, it shows it right on the list there, or on the grid there. That kind of thing is very cool for like demoing, even if you're eventually going to write your own code. For demoing up a project or, doing things. And they shared a lot of examples like, convert this to a list or add 10 more examples to my list or, add a login here and it'll build the code and then you can customize the code from that. So that kind of stuff, I mean, as someone who is a hack programmer that winds up doing a lot of stuff, I love this. I'm curious how you feel about this, Adam.
I mean, I think you're right. I think this sort of thing is going to be really helpful for like quickly wireframing up something, right?
Yep.
You're trying to just throw together a project and you want to quickly wire up a login screen or like some sort of display like this, like, right. I need a display grid with this data and stuff like that. Again, it comes down to how well it's built, and like, you would presume they're using Apple's Swift coding standards and it's writing good code, and like, but again, like, it's going to have to be double checked. Like, I'd never trust it to, like, build a production app that way.
Oh, no.
Like, you're not going to ship this to the App Store after just like, giving it a few prompts and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how accurate it is, how good it is. Yep. I would trust it. Apple wrote it, so writing Swift at Apple's language, you would presume it's going to be pretty good.
Right. Right.
But we'll see.
I was fascinated to see that part. I saw that part of the State of the Union, and I was fascinated to watch that come up as he just put in plain English. And it was like, oh, here's the code that'll accomplish what you want it to do. ChatGPT, to some degree, will do some of that for you, too. And
right. But this put it in the right spot in his app, too.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't just, here's a snippet, good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no more. Yeah. There's not going to be any more Hello World apps getting written as people are beginning their coding journey.
Like, that's the thing. I took a 1-day Swift class 5 years ago or something, right? Yeah. Swift is 10 years old, by the way.
What, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, I understood it that day. Could I sit down and, from a blank page, write something in Swift right now? No. But could I start with Swift Assist, have it build me a framework of basically what I want to start with, and then be like, oh, right, I got this from here. Yes, absolutely. And then if I get stuck somewhere, it's like, well, wait, let me use Swift Assist. Let me see what it would do. Oh, that's right. That's how you do this here. Okay, cool. Let me rewrite that my own way. To me, that's exciting. Yeah.
I mean, presuming it's right. And the thing is if you don't know the underlying, it's a double-edged sword, and it's a slippery slope and all those other things, because if you don't know the language and you're going to assume what it's writing is correct, you have no way to double check it, first of all.
Well,
and then,
it's showing you the iOS app that's running. Like, the app is running in the simulator right there. So you do have that. Yeah.
Is it the most efficient? Is it writing the most efficient way? Is it writing the most, concise way? Is it like... And maybe, again, like, it's Apple's own language, so maybe it is that smart in this scenario because it's very sandboxed. But, like, to go back to Pete's example of ChatGPT, I haven't used it for code stuff because I haven't gotten into that world, and I'm not really that interested. But I do have programming friends who do use those tools, or AI tools, ChatGPT and all the others. And from what I've been told, a large percentage of the time, the code is bad, wrong, just plain wrong.
Oh, it's just plain wrong.
Like,
I can attest to that. Yeah. Absolutely. But the nice part about code being wrong versus, say, write me a term paper on X is I can take that code and plug it into whatever I'm going to run it in and try it. I've used it a bunch for AppleScript, and I know darn well when it's wrong because I try it immediately, and it's like, wait, this is wrong. And then you go back and tell it, hey, this is wrong, and it'll iterate on it. Doesn't mean that it's going to be right the second time or even the third time, but at least Yeah.
This is the slippery slope on that, though, for me, is that I worry that there's going to be a whole generation of people who want to call themselves programmers who don't have the underlying knowledge because they were never required to acquire it because these tools get better and better. And, again, it's like being an expert at anything. And we had we've had this problem with, I guess we could look at something like, page layout or any other thing where technology came along. Remember when the first Mac came out, suddenly everybody was a graphic designer, right? But not everybody was a graphic designer, right? Just because you could take clip art from a thing and put it in, a Quark document and stick it on a page and put some text next to it and print it out on your laser printer didn't make you a graphic artist. And we saw a lot of really bad. We saw a lot of really bad graphic art for a long, long time when people suddenly realized, we actually probably want actual artists using these tools, not just people who say they're graphic artists. So I worry about the same. We're going to see a similar thing happen. And I mean, we saw with programming, even with things like Stack Overflow or GitHub or thing, there's a lot of copy paste programming. And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. And I think it's going to be similar with AI tools. As a tool, it's a powerful thing, but it's not a substitute for the underlying knowledge and learning things. And that's what I worry about. Is I worry about
100%
we're going to
right,
stop.
Adam. You're
There's going to be people
right.
stop learning.
Yeah, and that's the point I think I was trying to make earlier about the math notes. In that, if you don't understand what's really going on, you may not know that what you've done in that physics problem isn't correct. Now, are you going to go out and rely on that?
Yeah, well, we'll find out when a bridge is built. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I mean. Like somebody is. That's the problem. Is we're going to see some of those mistakes happen, and we're going to see some very bad programs, and we're going to see things that are, and then we'll learn and we'll get better, and So anytime a new tool comes out, I just have a little bit of hesitation, but yeah, it's very cool. Like it's a great tool in the right hands. It's a horrific tool in the wrong hands, I guess is what I would say.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Yeah. All of these things are tools. I feel like in the hands of a programmer like me, where I've had decades of experience coding, but I don't do it often enough to know where to start. Getting that that launch point is amazing. But from there, it's like, well, you got to understand, like once they put it on the screen, and this is how I am when I watch all the WWDC videos. It's like, I couldn't build this, but you've built it. I can look at it and walk my way through it and understand what you're doing. Great. And that allows me to digest it and all of that. If Swift Assist was creating me this code, I could digest it and then take it from there. But I put years into learning how to do that.
I mean, I use code examples all the time for even other people's code in, like, say, GitHub. When I'm trying to figure out a problem, I'll find something similar in GitHub and go, oh, that's a great way to do it. And it's not always the best way. And I usually try and find 4 or 5 or 6 different examples, to be honest. And I start comparing. And it's like, but I know how to read it. And so this tool is the same way. You could have it write it, and it spits something out and then immediately recognize, well, that doesn't seem as efficient as it should, right? Or if you know the underlying stuff, then you can work off of that. I think that's a great example of how to use a tool like this.
Yeah, right.
Right? Is like, okay, I know it created that object. Oh, that looks a little funky in that object, or that, I wonder why it did it that way. And then you look into it and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's a basic example. Mine's a little more advanced. I need to do something a little bit different. And then maybe you can ask it and have it tweak it and then look at that and eventually arrive at your own solution. Sure. But
to me, that's where things like ChatGPT have helped me code, where something I find on GitHub is like enough of the right direction to be like, okay, this is possible, but now I need something a little more complex than that. And there isn't a bespoke example out there on the internet for me, but ChatGPT will create one. And again, knowing how to read through it, it's like, oh, actually this looks right. Like, that's a great idea. And then I can adapt and implement from there. So even writing.
I mean, like writing, it's great for, like, I have used AI tools just to get ideas, like a story idea or a prompt, sort of like you do with the ads, right? I want a concept, I want an idea, and then I'm going to take that, I'm going to massage it and tweak it a little bit, but it's at least a starting point.
It's a starting point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. This is good. Yeah. Feedback at macgeekgab.com if you have any thoughts to share with us or any questions to ask of us. I will also share that the three of us will be at MacStock. Pete, I believe, assuming the weather gods agree, that you and I are going to fly out and land about 2 miles from MacStock. So
absolutely,
that's the idea. We'll see.
That's the plan.
Hey,
Crystal
Adam,
Lake.
Maybe you can come pick us up.
Yeah, I'm driving out, so yeah, I can come. I can give you a ride.
Yeah.
We're coming out in a Grumman Tiger.
Yep. If you want to join us at MacStock, there's a coupon code Mac Geek Gab that's easy to remember. that will get you $30 off. It also puts $30 in our pockets to pay for, fuel and that sort of thing to get out of there. But that's not the important part. The important part is getting you there. So please, if you're going to go, if you haven't bought your ticket yet, coupon code Mac Geek Gab gets you $30 off the price of either I think it's a 2-day or a full weekend pass. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess there's some stuff happening Friday, some special events or something. You can find about all of it at the Macstock Conference and Expo.com website, which we will put in the show notes. There is discussion of us potentially doing a live recording of Mac Geek Gab there. There are still some details that we need to figure out before we know if that can happen or not. But we'll be there either way. And I am doing a session there, so we'll, there's that, and lots of other people much smarter than me are doing sessions that I am looking forward to watching. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to our sponsors. You can find out about all our sponsors at macgeekgab.com/sponsors. Of course, the two in this episode were barebones.com and expressvpn.com/MGG. Thanks to CashFly for providing all the bandwidth to get the show from us to you. Check out Pete's other show so you can learn about maybe how he's going to fly that plane to Crystal Lake. So there I was. Hopefully, so there we are, Pete. That's it. Yep. Adam, hopefully your connection works well enough here at the end to share some final lasting advice before we all say goodbye to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this happened to me a few times in this show, so don't let it happen to you. Don't get caught. Made on Mac.
Later.